Hello, this is Mr. Daniels, and we are reading Chapter 1 of My Louisiana Sky. Hey, before we start the novel, let's just give a quick background about what's happening here. My Louisiana Sky is a novel by Kimberly Willis Holt, and it is a historical fiction novel, which means that these events that are in this story, the plot line did not actually happen, but it's based on real events that did truly happen in the year of actually 1957. This takes place in the South, in Louisiana. Obviously, by the title of the book, we know that. And the town that this family grows up in is a very, very small town, farming town. Not many people growing up there in this town. Obviously, everyone knows everyone, and you're going to meet our family here in Chapter 1, a lot of the main characters of the novel, and you will immediately start seeing some of these characters taking flight and where they're going to be going. So let's go ahead and get started with Chapter 1. Folks around Seder didn't understand why my parents would name their daughter Tiger, but Daddy says it's because of love. Mommy had a kitten named Tiger when she was a little girl. She loved that kitten so much she hugged it too hard and it died. Mama wasn't going to let it happen again, so when I was born, she was real gentle with me. Some people in Seder say Mama and Daddy should have never been allowed to get married because they're different. Folks around here call it retarded. I like slow better. Even though Daddy got through 12 years of school, most folks say teachers felt sorry for skinny Lonnie Parker. Just passed him from grade to grade like they do some of the basketball players. Mama never went to school, but Granny taught her to read. With those kind of odds, I thought I should be dumber than an old cow, but I'm not. In fact, my classmates' parents are still scratching their heads trying to figure out how I got straight A's and won the spelling bee 5 years in a row. It's even harder for them to believe Mama taught me to read, but she did. Mama likes reading comic books. I read about Superman and Donald Duck when I was 4. Now Mama likes to read to me to read to her because I can read words she can't. It rained every day of the week after I finished 6th grade. The clouds hung low in the gray sky, and the raindrops poured down, hammering our roof with a constant patter. By Saturday, the night Aunt Dory Kay came to visit from Baton Rouge, the sun came out in all its glory, and the sky returned to a brilliant blue. When we heard her car drive up near the gate, Mama ran out of the house like a little kid. She grabbed a hold of Aunt Dory Kay so hard my aunt wobbled on her high-heeled shoes. "Oh, Corina!" Aunt Dory Kay caught her balance and smoothed her dark hair back into place. "Oh, Dory Kay, I missed you so much!" Mama squeaked. She stepped back with her dirty bare feet admiring Dory Kay from head to toe. "Well, you're as pretty as a picture in a fancy ladies magazine." Aunt Dory Kay was Mama's younger sister. To me, she was the most sophisticated person I'd ever known. Today she wore a tailored navy blue shirt that matched her shoes, and she smelled better than perfume at Penny's. She wasn't beautiful like Mama, though. Mama's long dark hair fell over her shoulders, and her body curved in all the right places. But somehow, Aunt Dory Kay's flat chest and narrow hips appeared stylish in her pretty clothes. She wore more makeup than any Seder woman dared to, except for the women who went to the wigwam honky-tonk on Saturday nights. But while their faces looked caked on, hers looked glamorous. Aunt Dory Kay gently cupped my chin with her hands. 12 years old. Tiger, you're growing up into such a young lady." Her voice was smooth like the deep, calm lake. I wanted to dive right in and let it work its magic on me, turn me into something I wasn't. But as soon as I looked at my reflection in her eyes, I was reminded of what I saw in the mirror. I saw Daddy. He was tall and skinny with thin red hair and a long neck. His narrow eyes squinted when he smiled at me, and his nose took up a lot of room on his face. But folks say kids change a bunch before they finish growing, especially in the summertime. In the afternoon, my best buddy, Jesse Wade Thompson, stopped by to say hello to Aunt Dory Kay. He and I were sitting there on the living room floor drinking grape bets and listening to Elvis on the radio when we heard someone drive up. Aunt Dory Kay leaned forward, causing our tweed couch to squeak. She drew back the calico curtains. "Why, Tiger, look! Are you expecting something from the Alexandria store?" I rushed to the window. A Mitchell's Appliance delivery truck screeched to a stop in front of our gate. Jesse Wade and I dashed out into the open porch for two men carrying a bulky box. 2 weeks ago, we received a box of 24 baby chicks Granny had ordered. But this box was almost as big as our wood stove. I held the screen door open for the men. "Excuse me, sirs, but do you have the right house?" Brando, our one-eyed cat, leaped up from the swing and pranced off the porch. The taller man with the hair lip exchanged smiles with his stocky helper. "Well, I don't know. Whose house is this?" My breathing was hard and fast. "Well, this is the home of Jewel Ramsey and her kin." Jewel Ramsey was my grandma. I hoped the box was for us, but I knew it had to be a mistake. They carefully lowered the heavy box onto the porch. The hairlip man wiped the sweat from his brow with his handkerchief and dug into some folded papers in the back of his pants pocket. He unfolded the yellow slip and slid his finger on the bottom of the page. "Well, let's see here. You said Jewel Ramsey and her kin?" I hunched my shoulders. "Yes, sir. That's what I said." He frowned and shook his head. "Nope, I don't see anything that says that." My heart sank. "Oh, it's probably for your family, Jesse Wade." Mr. Thompson owned the plant nursery where Daddy worked. They could afford things that came in big boxes. Jesse Wade leaned his curly black head against the doorway. "We're not expecting any deliveries from the Mitchells." Aunt Dory Kay walked onto the porch while Mama continued to study the papers. He frowned, shaking his head. "Nope. This paper here says for the family of Jewel Ramsey and Lonnie Parker." Hee hee hee. The corners of his mouth turned into a slow grin. The other man laughed loudly and slapped his knee with his hat. "Ha ha ha! We fooled you, didn't we?" My heart felt like it plumb flew out of my chest. I raised my chin and stood straight. "Yes, sir, that's my grandma and my daddy. Right this way, sir. Can I get you some iced tea?" The men followed me inside, carrying the box. It took up so much space in our plain little room. Mama darted out of the kitchen with a half-peeled potato in her hand. The spiral peeling bounced as she ran toward the box. "What is it?" she asked. "What's in the box?" "Hold on, Corina," Granny said, walking slowly behind, wiping her hands on her apron. Her black hair was pinned up in its usual tight bun, but some fine locks had stuck full in her face. Aunt Dory Kay stood by the window, smiling as she watched us. Daddy, returning from the garden, clopped up the porch steps. He started to walk in, then looked down at his muddy boots, bracked out, and pulled them off. He walked into the house with white socks on his feet, rubbing a dirty hand across his red chin. I couldn't tell if his face was red from the sun or because two strangers stood in our house. He studied the box and then shyly peered at the men. As always, he spoke slow and cautious. What's this box doing in our house?" "Well, it's for us, Daddy. The men said it was for us." The delivery man headed toward the front door. The stocky fellow tipped his hat and said, "Well, you folks have a good day." The screen door squeaked open and shut as I examined the puzzled faces in the silent room. I dashed out the door before the men reached their truck. "Wait a minute, sir. Who's this box from?" The tall man opened the truck door. "It's on the papers we left with you." I ran back to the house and grabbed a paper stamped invoice off the box. It said, "Dory Kay Ramsey." Aunt Dory Kay bought it. I whipped around. "Oh, thank you, Aunt Dory Kay." It was just like Christmas. She yanked gently on my long pigtail. "Now, don't you think y'all better go see what it is y'all thanking me for?" Mom's focus didn't stray from the box. "Open it," she demanded. "Open it, Lonnie." We all stood around while Daddy drew his knife from his front pocket and carefully cut into the box. Cardboard slides flapped down the floor and revealed an object I'd only seen in Jesse Wade's living room. Dark oak surrounded the wide green screen. A brand new RCA television set. Mama jumped up and down, squealing like a baby pig. Daddy stepped back, stunned, brushing the hair from his eyes, and Jesse Wade whistled approvingly. Then, as if we all had planned it, everyone except Granny and Jesse Wade grabbed Aunt Dory Kay and hugged her until she lost her balance and fell onto the couch laughing. Thank you, Aunt Dory Kay. Mama raced to the TV and stroked it like a puppy. Oh, thank you. You're the best big sister in the whole world. Daddy clasped his hands together, cleared his throat as if to begin a speech, and then said, This is Montenacio, Dory Kay Ramsey. It must have cost you a whole lot of money. Dory Kay must have made a big salary working as a secretary in Baton Rouge. Granny frowned, turned on her heels, and marched to the kitchen, her apron bow riding high over her huge hips. A hurt look spread across Aunt Dory Kay's face as Granny walked away. I wonder why Granny wasn't happy like the rest of us. There weren't many families in Seda with a television set. It's a beauty, Jesse Wade said. Make sure you put a lamp on top. Mama says that's the best way to see it better. Speaking of Mama, I better get on home. She'll be hollering at me if I don't. My eyes were fixed on that TV. I hardly noticed him leave. Daddy plugged it in, then Aunt Dory Kay helped connect the rabbit ear antennas. When they finished, she asked, Tiger, would you like to turn on the television? Yes, ma'am. I turned the knob to the right. We waited and waited. We waited and waited. Maybe Marlon Brando would be on TV. My knees grew weak from the thought of seeing this dreamy movie star face right in the middle of my living room. Finally, the screen lit up like magic. Soon, we saw a man in black and white like some of the movies we'd seen out of the picture show. His lips moved, but we couldn't hear anything. We stood there with our mouths open, watching the man talk. Aunt Dory Kay bent down and turned another knob. The man's voice boomed from the television set. And that's the news for June 1st, 1957. Everyone but Dory Kay jumped back. Granny started out of the kitchen, frowning with her hands on her hips. Volume, Aunt Dory Kay explained as she adjusted the knob that lowered the sound. Daddy and Mama exchanged puzzled glances. Then their faces smoothed about. Mama smiled and Daddy nodded with a grin. Later, the hit parade show came on. Daddy settled on the couch, clapping off beat to the music, while Mama and I held hands and danced around the living room. Floorboards creaked as our steps thumped against the wood. Aunt Dory Kay perched on the arm of Granny's lounge chair, her eyes glazed as she walked miles away from our living room. Every once in a while, she batted her eyelashes. While Mama and I danced, Granny entered and sank into her chair. She stared at the TV, but a film covered her eyes like the times before she fell asleep in church. She and Aunt Dory Kay seemed to be in worlds of their own. Then Granny spoke. Don't you have better things to spend your money on besides a noise box? Last year when Granny leaned against Aunt Dory Kay, when Granny learned that Aunt Dory Kay hired a colored maid to clean her apartment, she'd said, That gal thinks money grows on trees. Now Aunt Dory Kay said, Oh, Ma, lots of families are buying televisions. Granny shook her head and walked back into the kitchen. Her large, lumpy hips reminded me of two fighting cats trapped in a sack. I sat down and offered a silly grin to Dory Kay. She smiled back, but her eyes looked sad. Granny's comments spoiled the gift for me, but Mama kept dancing by herself around the room.